Hi everybody, welcome to another episode of Fly Fish Road. Today we are going to be tying a hare's ear nymph. Hare's ear nymphs can be used to imitate small mayflies, stonefly nymphs when tied in a little bit larger sizes. They're just an all-around great little nymph, and they're one that I would highly recommend you having in your box. Materials that we're going to be using today are a size 16 Mustad S80 3960. I've got a pheasant tail. I believe this is from a hen pheasant, but I've got that. We're going to be using some UTC Ultra wire in copper in the brassy size. I'm going to be using Unithread 8.0 in brown. And I have dubbing. Now, traditional hare's ear nymph was dubbed with the actual dubbing from a hare's ear. This is just a dubbing package that I picked up from my local fly shop. It was actually in a estate lot that the owner had picked up, and I cannot remember for the life of me where it is actually from, but that natural color with some of the guard hairs and everything stuck in there is the color that we're going to be using today. So take this, get our hook in the vise, and we'll get started. First thing I'm going to do is wax my thread. And that's just for a bit of extra grip. And we'll get the thread started just behind the eye. A few reps to lock it in, and then we'll secure it down. Then I'm going to grab my wire and just touching turns work my way down after I break my thread. Again, wax it up. If there's any beginners watching this, just know if you break your thread, you don't need to start over, but that's also one of the reasons why I use the wax. That wax helps me get a better grip on the materials, and it also helps me get a better grip on the hook. And you can see that the thread didn't unwind at all. It just stayed right where it was, and that was because the wax was holding everything in place. Now I'm going to go down just until I'm in line with the barb of the hook. The barb of the hook is inside there, but if I let it go, it would be hanging just about in line with that barb. That being said, this is your fly. You can make it as short as long as you want. For the tail today, I've got this tail again from a hen pheasant. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the fibers out 90 degrees from the stem. I actually learned this trick watching Davey McPhail's videos, so if you want to see more of him, he's a fantastic tyer. He has great videos. Go check his channel out as well. But if I pull them 90 degrees from the stem of the hook, you can see that the tips line up. And I probably got 6 or so here. And take those, pinch them so they stay like that, and then just pull them away. Tail on this fly is going to be about the length of the shank of the hook. I'll put that on there. Up in between. A couple of wraps to hold. That looks a little long, so I'm just going to pull it in just a little bit. That looks better right there. So we're going to leave that there, and I'm going to go to my dubbing here. I'm going to pull out a few pinches. Now with these small flies, again this is a size 16, you don't need a whole lot of dubbing. I mean it's plucked out, but it's not a lot at all. It's just a pinch. that I pulled out of there. And I'm just going to twist this on. Try to make it a little tighter at the top, and you can see that this is not twisted on completely tightly as a noodle when I start, but I want that front part just to be nice and tight so that I can get an anchor. And then what I'm going to do is just twist and start tightening up, because I want to form that tapered body, that kind of carrot shape that a lot of those nymphs have. And I'm going to go just a little over halfway up, and what I want to do is keep that pheasant tail right on the top of the hook here. I'm going to go about 2/3 of the way up the body. And you can see it's a fat, chunky little body. And then I'm going to take that and I'm going to make one just loose loop, one loose turn to hang that over. I'm going to go back to my dubbing, but I want to keep it the same natural material, but right now I don't have it in a darker color. That's an easy fix. Grab my dubbing needle and try to pluck a little bit more out of there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little pinch of that, and we're forming the thorax, so it's a much smaller area, but I want to make it darker so it stands out a little bit. And then I'm going to take a little bit of this antron, just a small pinch of this darker antron, and a small pinch of this natural black. And there is some flash in here, and I'm just going to start mixing that together in my fingers. And you can see that it is definitely a little bit darker, so I'm going to pull that turn off, and again I'm going to dub it on a little tighter at the top and leave it loose at the bottom. I'm going to start dubbing, and because of the thorax, for the thorax on this fly, we want it to be a lot chunkier. Kind of the meat and potatoes are where all those nutrients is sitting inside that fly. I'm going to dub that, just keep going forward. I need just a little bit more. And I don't want to crowd the eye too much on this. Anything going forward of the eye. Looks like I've saved about 1 millimeter of space. Yeah, I'm just going to pull everything going forward of the eye back, make a few wraps, and secure that. Now I'm going to take my wire as my rib, and I'm going to start bringing that up. I'm going to actually try to go underneath the tail of the fly, and I want to leave that up. I haven't tied it down yet, because some guys will go over the top of the thorax cover with that pheasant tail, but I'm actually going to go underneath it. So I'm going to do, in a small fly like this, you're not going to get a whole lot of turns of your ribbing material. So I'm going to pull that forward, so I've made 1, 2, I'm going to make a turn right in front of where that thorax cover is going to come in. Make 1 more, and then I'm done. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my thread up vertical with my rib. I'm going to put a 90-degree bend into that wire, keeping my thread tight. I'm going to put a little more wax on that thread there. 1, 2. Just hitting stuff all over the place. pull anything going forward of that eye. 4, 5. Then I'm just going to bend and break away that wire. A couple more wraps. Tidy that up. Now for the legs. Now some guys will use small feathers like this, a Hungarian partridge. You can use a hen hackle from a hen neck. You can use grouse. Whatever you feel like you can get away with on these, or you can use your pheasant tail again. I'll show you both options here real quick, just so you can kind of get an idea of what I'm talking about. So we'll take this partridge hackle here, and I'm just going to strip away the fluff at the bottom so I kind of have a place to hold on to. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to get in here and snip out that center portion. So now I've got these fluffy guys here. Then I'm going to take that and I'm going to put that up and underneath the fly, hold it in place, make a few wraps to hold, and I'll show you kind of what the outcome is here. So that V that we had, where it was floating like this, I put one side of the V on either side of the fly. So I had one side of the V over here, and I had one side of the V over here. You can see that some parts of that V got stuck underneath, as you can see down there. So we're just going to encourage those to go back up this way, just in kind of gently encouraging those up there. And you can see that they're a little bit long, so I'm going to take 1, 2 wraps off to loosen that up, and I'm just going to gently pull until those legs are the length that I want. Pinch it one more time. Now we can tighten up. So those aren't going to go anywhere. Then I'll come in with my scissors and nip that off right underneath. So that's one way to do it. Pluck those guys out of there. The other way to do it is to use your pheasant tail again. So again, I'm going to pull out. This time I'm probably going to grab 4 to 6 fibers again. Make sure that those tips line up and pull them away. And I can see that there's 6 here, and they've split into 3 groups of 2. So I'll take my dubbing needle and split the 2 in the middle, so I get 2 groups of 3. Like that. And then you can do it as a clump, or you can do it individually, but take one group, put it on one side, take the other group, put it on the other side. So when I'm doing this, it'll be like this here. Get them generally to the length that you want. Maybe a little longer so you can pinch and hold those on there. Just do a 2 nice light loops. Now you can see as I let these go, these actually twisted around. That's the beauty of doing those light loops. You can just gently pull those back to the sides so that they are where you want them to be. I'm going to pull these in a little bit so that the length is where I want. And then just gives a nice little impression of legs. 4. And what I'm going to do is, so I'm going to take these and then fold them back, because as wonderful as pheasant tail fibers are, they are fairly delicate. So we're going to fold these back over on themselves so that those fibers can't pull out. They have to be broken off. Speaking of breaking off, we keep our thread tight. You can see that I just snap those right off, but we still have our legs there. Then I'm going to take my thorax cover, come over the top, and I want to try to make this as flat as possible. And I can do that by encouraging with my finger to lay flat, but we'll keep that there. I'll take my thread, come over the top once, just to hold it in place. Again, put a little bit more wax on my thread. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. And then some guys use super glue, other guys use varnish. If you're from the UK looking at this, this is a tube of Sally Hansen's Hard as Nails that I have had for years now. Probably should get a new one. But you can see it's pretty thick. But I'm just going to take a little bit of that, run it right there on the base of the thread. Grab my whip finish tool. And 1, 2. Just like that. Got a couple of little guys going forward to the eye. And again, these don't have to look pretty. Come in. Take the top off the thorax cover. Finish my thread. Take that out. And there you have pheasant tail nymph. Now, with this, because it does dry super hard, take that. A couple little dabs right on the top of that shell casing, the thorax cover. Now, you don't have to do that. Some guys will use UV resins to do that, but that right there is a finished pheasant tail nymph. It's a great little fly. Like, again, represents a small mayfly nymph. It will represent a small stonefly nymph, golden stoneflies, but all in all, it's just a great little fly to have in your box, and I would highly recommend tying these few up. So thank you very much for watching, and tight lines.